Heute kann es regnen, stürmen oder schneien, denn du strahlst dich selber wie der Sonnenschein.
And take a look at celebrity birthdays for this Tuesday. And it's a short list, but a good list nonetheless. TV journalist Ann Curry. There's your link. TV journalist Ann Curry is 57 today. I wonder if Matt Lauer is going to take her out to lunch. Allison Janney of The West Wing. She played White House press secretary. Later took over Leo's job on the show. What was her name? CJ? Yeah, CJ. Anyway, she is 54 today. And I think she's on that new show on CBS on Monday nights at 8:30 local time. I can't think of the show. I've not watched it yet. Oh, by the way, speaking of CBS, did you watch Mike and Molly last night? Oh, God, that... I have a thing for Melissa McCarthy. She is a hottie. I love that girl. I mean, she would be... I think she'd be fun to hang out with. I think she would be a great wife and girlfriend. Not necessarily in that order, of course. I don't know. I just have a thing for Melissa McCarthy. But, oh, she is hilarious in that show last night. But if you've not seen last night's episode, it was a classic sitcom situation. But still, it was very well done. A nice modern spin on it. But side note there. Anyway, sorry. Celebrity birthdays. Meg Ryan is only 52 today. I thought she was older than that. I'm not saying 52 is young or old. I just, for some reason, I was picturing her in her mid-50s. But Meg Ryan is 52. Jodie Foster is 51. And TV chef Rocco DiSpirito. Is that how you pronounce his name? Well, he's 47. And those are celebrity birthdays for this Tuesday. Speaking of birthdays, if you'll go back to the November 7th show where I was talking about my dear friend Joy Dodson Flanders, I was a little bit not necessarily worried or upset, but I thought it was kind of odd she didn't wish me a happy birthday last week. I thought, well, she's gotten busy. She forgot about it. Well, yesterday afternoon when I was doing some preliminary work for today's program, and I see on Facebook, and she goes, Joe, I'm sorry, or to that effect, that I forgot your birthday. Wish you a happy birthday last week. And I said, don't worry, I don't hold it against you. But it just struck me as funny. But anyway, I just wanted to pass that along. I was like, do I tell her that I made dedicated a song of the day to her on her birthday? And I thought, I won't rub it in. I'll let her discover it if she wants to. If she ever listens to my programming. I'm sure that some of my language might surprise her because I was a quiet kid. She knows that. But, through other changes in our lives, we are still very, very dear friends. Kind of like the relationship between Spock and McCoy. I know she's not a science fiction fan, but there's that kind of a bond there. But anyway, I'm getting off topic again. I guess that's one of the things I wanted to bring up, but it makes more sense to do it now. Well, let us say we take a look at today in history, okay? And rather eventful day in history, especially on this date in, 1863? Anyway, I'm sure they'll talk about it on the program here in just a little bit. But without further delay, it's time to go back in time for today in history. And with that segment, we'll have the Associated Press in just a moment. But first things first, I have room for one passenger in the time machine. Yes, I know it's a DeLorean. And so I've chosen you. Yeah, you in the back. Come on up here. Let's get ready. Let's go back in time here, shall we? And let me turn on the time circuits. Start the engine. And away we go. Okay? Now we go back to the year 1885, November 19th, 1885, for today's date in history. And on this date, November 19th, 1895, the modern pencil was invented. Modern pencil invented on this date in 1895. No doubt the eraser would soon follow. And now for more of Today in History, let's go to the Associated Press.
November 19th, 1863.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation.
During the American Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln delivers what becomes known as the Gettysburg Address. He speaks at the dedication of a national cemetery in Pennsylvania, on the site of one of the war's major battles just months earlier. 1977. A step toward peace in the Middle East, as Egypt's President Anwar Sadat becomes the first Arab leader to visit Israel. 2 years later, Israel and Egypt sign a peace treaty, months after President Jimmy Carter helps broker the Camp David Accords in the United States. 1959.
This is the Edison, unlike any other car you've ever seen.
Ford halts production of the unpopular Edsel after the model's massive flop with America's car shopping public. 1905. Tommy Dorsey, one of swing music's big band leaders along with his brother Jimmy, is born in Shenandoah, Pennsylvania. And 1962.
I'm not really built to be an actor. I don't really have an actor's personality, and I don't make movies to act. I just want to make movies.
Actress Jodie Foster is born in Los Angeles. Among her roles, Taxi Driver, The Accused, The Silence of the Lambs, Contact, and Panic Room. Today in History, November 19th. Tim McGuire, The Associated Press.
This is Across Our Wide Missouri with Bob Critty.
The Kansas football team trotted onto the field that day in Columbia, Missouri with everything to gain and little to lose. For the third time that season, the Jayhawks were facing the nation's #1 football team. They had a shot at a conference championship, but they were one-touchdown underdogs. The year was 1960. The Tigers of Missouri had attained the heady #1 ranking in football for the first time in Missouri history, one of the few times Missouri had ever been in the top 10. The official record books say Missouri finished that year with a record of 11-0, including an Orange Bowl win. But every true son of old Mizzou knows in his heart the record was really 10-1. This is the story of that one in a minute.
This episode of First Cup is brought to you by Wishing Stars Native Creations, Fine Art Today, and Marshall Woodworking. Check out these companies and many more by going to the Friends page at tinyurl.com/Gunther's House or tinyurl.com/GuntherMobile. Hi friends, Joe Haffner here. Are you interested in buying, selling, trading, or renting a house? Or maybe you're in the market for buying or selling a car, or perhaps selling or giving away clothes, furniture, or electronics. Well, I can help you out. Just email me, Joe, at Gunther'sHouseOfFriends@gmail.com. That's Gunther'sHouseOfFriends@gmail.com. Email me today with your item and or items, and together we'll come up with a creative way to buy, sell, trade, or rent any reasonable item or service that you want. Keep in mind, though, I don't deal with the exchange of firearms, alcohol items, drugs, or anything illegal or immoral. So send me an email today at Gunther'sHouseOfFriends@gmail.com.
It was homecoming. A record crowd of 43,000 fans jammed Memorial Stadium in Columbia to see their Tigers face arch-rival Kansas. The teams had played 68 games in their series, the longest-running football rivalry west of the Mississippi. Both teams had won 30 games. They had fought to ties 8 times. The homecoming theme was Break the Tie, and fans in the stadium could see just across the road a giant yellow and black striped necktie hanging from the balcony of a new dormitory. Missouri had moved steadily higher in the rankings all season, first attracting serious attention when they went east and whipped highly regarded Penn State 21-8. On November 15th, Missouri moved past Iowa into the #1 position in the polls. Kansas already had played Iowa and Syracuse when both were ranked #1 and had lost to both. The Jayhawks' only losses had been to those non-conference teams. They were 6-2-1 overall, 5-0-1 in the conference. Missouri coach Dan Devine told interviewers, "The excitement of being number one in the nation and of playing Kansas in the same week shouldn't happen to anybody." He began to see signs of nervousness among the players on Wednesday. It was unusual. Didn't like it. He started expressing reservations about the mental attitude of the team and the defensive preparations being made against the fine passing attack of Kansas quarterback John Hadel. The KU backfield that year had 3 future pros in it, Hadel and running backs Bert Cohn and Curtis McClinton. Missouri was led by quarterback Ron Taylor, a 5-foot 8-inch Joplin native. Missouri's running game was so powerful that Taylor threw only 44 passes all year, completed 23 for 302 yards and 4 touchdowns. It was the power sweeps that electrified the crowd, the student body right and student body left formations that put a solid wall of blockers in front of the ball carriers. The other backs, Mel West, the team's leading rusher, Donnie Smith, the conference's leading scorer that year with 13 touchdowns, fullback Eddie Marer, and second-string halfback Norris Stevenson. And it was hard to call Stevenson second string. He was the first black to play football at the University of Missouri on a scholarship. Against Oklahoma, he'd shredded the Sooners for 169 yards on only 13 carries. Missouri's pass rush, led by All-American end Dan LaRose, usually kept pressure on most quarterbacks. In the first quarter, Kansas fumbled 3 times, and Missouri recovered all of them, but couldn't even get a first down. It was a scoreless game at halftime, but Missouri was in trouble. In the third quarter, Roger Hill kicked a 47-yard field goal for a 3-0 Kansas lead. Later, Stevenson fumbled on the Missouri 19, and 3 plays later, Hadel passed to Cohn for a touchdown. In the fourth quarter, Kansas drove 69 yards, with Cohn scoring again, and it was 17-0. Late in the quarter, West made a diving catch of a pass in the end zone, but it was already too late, and Kansas won 23-7. Goodbye, number 1. Kansas won the conference title that day, but they were already on probation and couldn't go to a bowl, and it turned out Cohn was ineligible, so KU had to forfeit the game. So Missouri went to the Orange Bowl 10-0, and then won that game over Joe Bellino and Navy, and finished the day 11-0. The day Missouri lost a game it later won, a conference title it later regained, but a national championship it could not recapture the day Kansas broke the tie, this day, November 19th, 1960.
The future seems to be in pharmaceuticals.
Marketplace Morning Report is produced in association with the University of Southern California.
From 8 p.m. in New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the global perspective on business and economics. For a time, drugs losing their patent protection and getting cheaper cut into medicine sales around the world. But according to a new forecast from the IMS Institute for Healthcare Informatics, spending on medicines will for the first time top $1 trillion next year. Some of this is new drugs on the way to help with such things as cystic fibrosis, but it's also the growing middle class overseas. The BBC's Celia Hatton in Beijing.
Global pharmaceutical companies have seized on the Chinese market as a place for growth, and they've really plowed into the Chinese market. Chinese people have embraced a lot of habits that go along with a Western lifestyle. So they're eating fattier food, they're smoking cigarettes, and that means that things like diabetes and lung cancer are on the rise, which means naturally they're going to want drugs to treat these illnesses. And while 20, 30 years ago they might have turned to Chinese medicines, increasingly they're turning to Western medicine.
Pharmaceutical companies had also been counting on U.S. healthcare reform to boost sales as people enroll in coverage and get better access to prescriptions. The industry is worried now that delays or rollbacks with Obamacare could cut into profits. We've been reporting throughout the fall on what could become the largest settlement ever between a corporation and the U.S. government. Sources tell the AP that J.P. Morgan Chase could agree as early as today to pay $13 billion for foisting lousy mortgage bonds on unwitting buyers. Part of that settlement could help pay for relief for some consumers struggling with unsustainable mortgages. Now let's check the numbers. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are mixed at the moment. The FT 100 in London is down 0.6%. Japan's Nikkei fell 0.25%. The electronics retailer Best Buy has a profit report on the way this morning. About a year ago, business reporters began to craft obituaries as the company seemed headed the way of Circuit City, bricks and mortar in an online world. But Best Buy stock has soared this year. Marketplace's Mark Garrison reports.
Best Buy avoided death by cutting expenses, aggressively matching online prices, and improving its own website. Harvard retail professor Rajiv Lal says Wall Street likes it, for now.
The stock is flying sky high now, and the question really is, will there be another bump in the road?
That bump might even form in the road Best Buy built itself. It's gotten praise for new partnerships